Alright guys, so James Degale is going to be defending his IBF title against Rogelio Medina. Now this guy Medina, he's got quite a bit of power, he punches really hard. But that's pretty much it. I'm serious guys, that's pretty much all I can say about that guy. Yeah, I mean, other than that, he has nothing at all. He's one of these fighters who, every time he steps up in class, he loses. Now he has one victory on his record that you can say is a noteworthy victory, and that was against Jalen Love. That was a pretty impressive knockout. But other than that, what has he really done? I mean, he's beat a bunch of journeymen. He has 6 losses. He was stopped against Badu Jack. He was also stopped against Gilberto Ramirez. He's not a world-class fighter. So I really see this as a pretty much a stay busy fight for James Degale. That's how I see this fight. I think James Degale, I think that they're just giving him a stay busy fight, just a routine title defense. That's all I see this fight as. James Degale, Medina just cannot, no matter what you say, no matter what way you look at it, he cannot match James Degale for technique and skill. He just can't do it. Now, let's talk about James Degale as a fighter. James Degale, he's not a great athlete. I will say that about him. Athletically, he's not that good. He's not that impressive. I don't think he has world-class stamina. I don't think he's very fast. I don't think he's particularly sharp. However, his technique and his boxing skill is second to none in the super middleweight division. He has tremendous defense. His timing is excellent. He switches his stance seamlessly. He's ambidextrous. He's equally coordinated from a southpaw stance as he is to an orthodox stance. It's really hard to tell whether he's right-handed or left-handed. I don't think anybody actually knows. He's ambidextrous. He uses both hands extremely well. He has pretty good upper body movement. He knows how to hold and jostle for position on the inside. And, he's not really that dirty a fighter. I mean, I know against George Groves he did use his head a bit and he did elbow a couple of times, but in the majority of fights that I've seen him, he hasn't really been that dirty. I think he's certainly not Andre Ward or Bernard Hopkins level dirty. He does know a few veteran tactics, but he's not as bad as those guys. One thing that he does very well is he goes and puts his back up against the ropes, and he's very difficult to hit. He knows how to use the ropes as defense, like Muhammad Ali used to, using the rope-a-dope. He's very good at that. I remember watching the Christian Sanavia fight. He went up on the ropes, and the opponent just couldn't touch him, even though he was right in front of him. So, James Degale is a very talented, technical boxer. I mean, if you're looking for a guy with skill and defense and boxing ability, he's your man. Like I said, athletically he's not that good, but it's a double-edged sword because while not being an athlete could mean that he's a bit lazy, or it could mean that he's a bit vulnerable to certain kind of opponents. At the same time, what it means is he's not taking anything for granted in the ring. He's relying on his skills. He's not relying on speed. He's not relying on reflexes. He's not relying on stamina. He's not relying on any kind of athleticism at all. He's relying on his technique, which means he's constantly honing his skills and honing his technique and getting better and better. And that's what you like to see in a fighter. You like to see a guy honing his skills, and you like to see a guy that's technically sound. And I do think that he is pretty underrated in terms of his technique. A lot of people don't seem to realize how slick he is and how skilled he is and how intelligent he is in the ring. So needless to say, I'm picking him to win this fight. I think he's gonna absolutely destroy this guy. Medina just cannot match James Degale for technique at all. He cannot match James Degale for skill. He cannot match James Degale for intelligence in the ring. And he cannot match James Degale for his resume either. I just think that James Degale, he's going to take this guy apart. He's going to destroy this guy. What would I like to see from Degale after this fight? The logical next step for me, for James Degale, in my opinion, it'll be for him to fight the winner of the Badu Jack Lucien Bute fight. Now I understand Degale already beat Lucien Bute, but if Badu Jack beats Lucien Bute, which I personally think Badu Jack will win that fight. It's a good fight, close fight, but I just think that Badu Jack will edge the fight. And I think that if Badu Jack is to win that fight, it'll be an excellent way to match Degale and Badu Jack up for a fight. Personally, I think Degale beats Badu Jack. I think Degale is too slick and too technically good, and I think he'd outbox him and win on points. But, you know, it's a significant fight for the division because it's a unification fight, and unification fights are always intriguing, and I would love to see it. So that's a great matchup there that can be made, assuming Degale gets past this guy, which I'm pretty sure he will, and I'm pretty sure that Badu Jack will probably beat Bute. So, yeah, good fight. Who else could he fight? Obviously, there's Arthur Abraham. Arthur Abraham has a fight with Gilberto Ramirez. That is a fight that, for me, is just too tough to call. Too tough to call. I can't pick a winner in that fight. You know, when the fight first got signed, I thought that Abraham would probably win. Then I found out that the fight was happening in America, and it's on a top rank card too. And I thought, you know what, Abraham to me is one of these guys who has never really looked as good when he fights in another guy's backyard. You know, when he fights at home, you know, he seems a lot more confident, a lot more comfortable, and he seems more composed, and he seems to box a lot better. But when he's in his opponent's backyard, to me, he just looks like a fish out of water. You know, he's not used to not having the crowd on his side, and that's why I think that perhaps Ramirez has a chance to maybe take Abraham out of his comfort zone. And not only that, Ramirez is very young, he's in his prime, he's undefeated, he's on his way up, he's the more hungry guy out of the two. You know, Arthur Abraham is the old veteran fighter, and you know, he's not as fresh or as young or as fit as Gilberto Ramirez. You know, Gilberto Ramirez is in very good shape physically, and you know, Arthur Abraham, you know, he is in good shape still, but he doesn't have the kind of legs or the kind of reflexes that he used to have. So you never know. That's why I think it's too close to call, because whereas I think that Abraham's experience will be significant, I think that his experience will certainly give him an advantage. I think that Ramirez's youth and energy and having the home advantage will also be significant in the fight. So I think I'm very excited to see that fight, and I can't call it. It's just too close to call. Let me know what you guys think about that. And back to Degale, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's gonna knock this guy out, man. I don't see this fight going the distance. I think Degale stops Medina. I think he would absolutely destroy him. And I talked about Arthur Abraham just then. You know, I think Degale beats Arthur Abraham, and I think Degale beats Badu Jack too. I think that Degale is the best technical boxer in the super middleweight division right now. As I said, he's not the best athlete. I think Badu Jack is a better athlete than Degale. I think even Abraham is a better athlete than Degale. But I just think that it'll come down to technique. It'll come down to skill. It'll come down to boxing IQ. And James Degale has that more than anyone else in the division, in my opinion. We all know why Carl Froch didn't want to fight Degale. We all know why George Groves doesn't want a rematch with Degale, because he knows that he got lucky in that first fight. You know, Groves, he boxed really well, he boxed smart, but, you know, Degale, I felt Degale made a lot of mistakes, and I felt that Degale approached the fight all wrong. You know, he needed to be more tactful. He needed to take a step back and use feints, whereas he was just plodding forward and trying to walk Groves down, and he gave Groves way too many opportunities. But if those two had a rematch, I would not hesitate in picking Degale to beat Groves in a rematch. You know, so yeah, it's looking good, the super middleweight division, as long as these unification fights get made. You know, I don't want to see Degale fighting any more easy touches after this, because this opponent, Medina, you know, Degale is so much better than this guy. He really is. He really should be fighting better opponents. There's no excuse for a fight like this. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching.